This week on Tech Talk, we're going to take a look at an interesting new device for a computer that is almost 40 years old. If you are older than 30-ish, then you may remember this console. Maybe you or a friend you remember owned one. It is the TI-99.4a. I've honestly had one or two of these stored in my attic for a number of years, but recently there have been some interesting innovations that have lured me back and compelled me to search the attic for these long-lost treasures. One of those recent innovations, or devices, is called a TIPI. What's interesting about it is it attaches to a 32K Sidecar memory expansion and it allows you to connect a Raspberry Pi to this 40-year-old computer. The Raspberry Pi can be either a 3, a 3 Plus, or even the Pi Zero W, and it gives you access to many new capabilities. So what can you do with this thing? A lot. I think you'll be very impressed. So let's get started. When you first get your TIPI, this is what it looks like. This is the actual TIPI card. Basically what you have here is I believe it's a 40 pin connector. I didn't count all the pins, I could be wrong about that, but I believe it's a 40 pin. Then over here you have a connector. This is what is used to connect up to your Raspberry Pi. One thing you will need is a 32K Sidecar, which is what this board is. This is for external power if you're going to be powering it through an external 5-volt power source. You can also, there is a switch right here. If you're using external or TI power, basically if you want to use the speech synthesizer with it, then you would switch that to TI, and you'd have to run a wire across the speech synthesizer. Put some a link to some instructions there if you want to do that. Otherwise, it's probably just easier to select EXT and plug in external power source. One thing you'll notice here is the connector length. It's kind of long. There are other boards, 32K boards that you can get that are called shorties. You can see you can't use any cases with it at all. So what I wound up doing is buying this unpopulated card as far as the chips are concerned, and I did a chip swap. I took the chips from this one, transferred it over to this one, and now I can use a really cool case, which I'm going to show you in just a minute. But basically, just want to make sure you know, don't get the shorty card. Get the standard size. Okay, so with that said, let's go and begin assembling the 2K Sidecar. So the way you go about that is just very carefully make sure you have everything lined up just right, and it should slide right on in, and it does. Okay, and then you can take this and plug it into your speech synthesizer if you plan on using that. Just snap it in there. But I'm going to put this into a brand new case that I just received about a week ago. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now, and I'll fast forward the video so you can watch how it's done. Okay, there you have it. The TIPI is all enclosed in this brand new case. I'll leave a link on the description below where you can purchase one of these if you're interested. Very nice cases, very well made, very sturdy. I like the fact that it's got the metal studs in the cover. Just don't forget to open the small bag that comes with it. you want to use this Allen wrench that came with it to install these screws. They are not Phillips head and they're not flathead, so you definitely need this tool. Alright, so I guess now we can plug everything back in. Alright, so we're going to take the Raspberry Pi, this far cable over here, and I've labeled these to make it easier for me because I'm old and I forget. But this goes to the right side, so we'll plug that in there. And then this cable goes to the left side, and we'll plug that in there like so. Make sure we got everything connected well. Looks good. And this is the external power supply that I'm going to be using. Actually, is that it? Yeah, that's it. That's the power supply. Alright, so now let's just hook it up to the TI. And now we are ready to go. The TIPI, 32K, everything's there. I'm going to go ahead and test the memory. It's a good idea to test the memory before you continue. Type size. And here it reports that we do indeed have our 32K memory expansion connected properly, and everything is fine there. One of the first things that you'll want to do is first acquire a micro SD card. This is what's going to be installed in the Raspberry Pi. In this case, I have a small 64 gig micro SD card. What you want to do is slide it into the sleeve here and plug this in here, and then plug this into your computer or laptop, and we're going to image the TIPI ISO image onto this micro SD, and I'll show you how to do that right now. Okay, so now we need to prepare the micro SD card for use in the Raspberry Pi. So how we're going to do that? We're going to use the SD formatter to format the SD card, and the Win32 disk imager we're going to use to write the ISO image for the Raspberry Pi. I'll provide links to both of these applications in the description below if you'd like to do the same. But let's go ahead and start with the SD formatter. Okay, first you want to make sure that you have the correct drive selected. Typically this is pretty accurate, but you might want to just double check it. Volume label, you don't need to necessarily put that in. It's going to rewrite the disk anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Format. Click OK. OK. Alright, at this point the disk is formatted. If you get any pop-up messages indicating there's a problem with the disk, don't worry about it. Click OK and exit. Okay, so now we're going to copy the ISO image to the micro SD card, and we're going to use Win32 Disk Imager to do that. There are other tools available that basically do the same thing, but this is one I've used for a while, so we're going to go ahead and just stick with it. We're going to select the location of the ISO image. There's the TIPI SD image.img file. Say OK and click Open. Alright, at this point we have the file that we want to write, and we've got the micro SD card. My drive letter is G. We've got that selected, so we're going to click Write. It's asking or telling you it can corrupt the device. Are you sure you want to continue? Make sure you have the correct micro SD selected. And if you're sure that you are, click yes, because once you do this, it's gone. This will take a few minutes, so I will go ahead and fast forward the video. Okay, now at this point the ISO image has been successfully written to the disk, and we're ready to install it into the Raspberry Pi. Okay, now that we have the micro SD image all burned, we're going to take the SD card out of the sleeve, and we're going to install it into the Raspberry Pi. Make sure the power is off, which it is, and put it in like, you gotta be kind of careful here. Get closer to the board and slide it in. There we go. Now we're good. Now we are going to turn on the Raspberry Pi. We have power, and we'll make sure everything else is powered on here. Turn on the TI. Okay, so now the Raspberry Pi should be booted up. So we're going to press 1, go into TI Basic, I'm going to type call TIPI, and looks like everything's hooked up and running. Alright, so at this point, one of the first things you want to do is press S to enter your SSID and P to enter your Wi-Fi password. So whatever your network or Wi-Fi ID is, you press S, type it in, then enter your password, and then you'll see a W appear down here and you'll want to write to it. I'm going to go ahead and set up a few URIs here, and basically a URI is like an alias, so you don't have to type the URL to a particular site. So I'm going to go ahead and do that first and let you see that. I'm not going to put in my Wi-Fi password and stuff right here on camera, but here we go. So we're going to type http://myTI99.com. That's a site I visit a lot. It has applications such as Chatti, Chess, and SNEK available to you. A couple other little surprises. So we'll hit enter there, and notice down here it's saying write. I'm not going to write at this point. I'm going to add one other URL under here by pressing L. I'm going to type http://www.cwfk.net/4A files. Okay, now I'm going to write that. Now I'm going to go ahead and enter my SSID and my password for my Wi-Fi. You want to do this yourself on your particular system. Once you do that, your TIPI is set up on your network. You don't have to do anything with the Raspberry Pi directly. You can do all the configuration directly from the TIPI configuration program. Okay, after you first get connected to the network, you'll see your IP address here, the build of the DSR, and in my case I have an upgrade available, so I'm going to press U to upgrade. Okay, so I press R again. Looks like everything is reloaded. I believe it had to reboot the Raspberry Pi. I think that's where some of the disk activity came from. But yeah, everything seems to be updated now. Yeah, we're ready to play around with the Raspberry Pi and the TIPI. Another cool feature of the TIPI is it's got a built-in Telnet client. And how you can get to the Telnet client is, once again, through TI Basic. I'm going to type in call TIPI, and I'm going to type in tipi.net.telnet. Press enter. Now it's asking me if I want a 40, 80, or 64 column Since this is a base console, I'm just going to say 1 for 40 columns. And here you could connect up to any telnet location. In my case, I'm just going to connect up directly to the Raspberry Pi that's connected to the TIPI. So I'm going to say localhost, press enter. I'm going to give it a port of 23, press enter. Now it asks me for a login. The login for my console is TIPI, which is standard when you receive or download the image to your Raspberry Pi. Password is also TIPI. Press enter. And now you're in the Raspberry Pi. So we have a client connection from the TI-9994a directly into the Raspberry Pi. The next thing you want to do is type STTY erase space and hold down the function key and the S key. And basically what that does is it emulates if you go backwards that it's actually going to go back in the Telnet client. So you have to do this every time you launch the Telnet client. Press enter. And now we can issue any Linux commands that we want, such as ls. We can see where we are. We can type cd tipi, press enter. See what's in there. You can type sudo reboot and reboot the Raspberry Pi. Okay, obviously before I began recording this video, I actually had some files on the TIPI that I wanted to keep. So I created a folder over here, a backup disk of those things that I had that I wanted to keep. This main directory basically just has some TI basic programs, various programs and stuff that I used. And then under disks, I categorized it by different things like development and games, graphics, my stuff, all that. I want to put all that stuff back. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm just going to select everything out of here, right click, and select copy, which is right here. And now to browse to your TIPI, you just do / /TIPI, and you should find it on your network once you've set it up through your Wi-Fi. Alright, so now we're going to double click here. And notice these files that exist. If I go into the net, there's Telnet, and there's TIPI config, TIPI CFH. Do not, I repeat, do not delete these files. As a matter of fact, it's a good idea to go ahead and make a backup copy of them. Because last night when I was playing around with this, I wound up deleting them, thinking, you know, they would restore themselves. They don't. So do not mess with any of these files. Just a recommendation. All right. So now I'm going to copy my stuff back on here. So I'm going to hit paste. And now we have everything reinstalled. And this main folder is one that I typically map to the disk 2. And then I can use another tool called TIPI map, which also exists in here, where I can map any of the disks that I have over here to, let's say, disk 1 or whatever drive letter I want. But for instance, if I want to go into graphics programs, I'm going to map TI Artist to disk 1, and I'll launch Extended Basic, and we'll do that in just a minute. But I just want to show you what it looks like from the file system standpoint. Okay, another thing I want to show you is the web administrator for TIPI, or file management utility. It's actually pretty cool. Let's zoom in a little bit here so we can see it a little better. Here we have the My TIPI. There's an about. You can reboot, shut down your Raspberry Pi, files, Raspberry configuration. We'll click that. I don't think it does anything right now. No, it didn't. Okay, so the main thing is this section here shows you that same share that I just mentioned a few minutes ago. We see disks, we see main, we see net, we see the TIPI configuration programs, this copy of a program that my son and I wrote. So let's say we want to take a look at it. Notice this little blue icon here? That means the file is a TI Basic or Extended Basic program, and we can view it, and in fact we could change it directly from this web utility. So let's go ahead and click it. And here we can see this is a program that was written to use the Terminal Emulator 2 cartridge. Basically it opens number 4 here, speech output. He inputs something. If he types exit, then it exits the program. Otherwise it continues into a loop here and keeps saying whatever it is he types. It's a cool little program, but what's even cooler is we can look at the file right here on my PC. I'm not on the TIPI at this point directly. I'm just going through this web application. So yeah, that's pretty neat. We can also browse the disks that we have, and it does support the folder structures that you define. You can create new folders. If you click over here, you can say new directory, create another directory, and we'll just call it test. We don't have one called test, so we'll say test. Now we have a test directory. We can go into the test directory. We can type in a new program. So let's go ahead and say my test. And now we can enter a program. And we can save it. We'll do save and exit. There we go. So now we've created a basic program right here in this web utility, and we can go back over to the Raspberry Pi on the TI and run the program. Of course, it's a simple program. It's rather boring, but hey, it demonstrates that you can actually write code or even copy and paste code from different sources and put it directly onto your Raspberry Pi and run it on your TI. Okay, now we're back on the TI, and what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and load that program that we created in the web administrator. Now, an easier way to map your particular disk is to use TIPI-map. So we're going to we're going to do old DSK2 TIPI-map. I did mount my main directory to DSK2 using TIPI config. I showed you that at the beginning. You just type in main and it'll go to that subfolder. So anyway, main is mapped to disk 2. We're going to load up TIPI-map and run it. And I'm loading this in Extended Basic. You have to run this in Extended Basic at the present time. Alright, so now we're in TIPI-map, and we're going to go down to, we're going to go to disks, and we're going to press the D key or right arrow. And now we're going to go to test, which was the folder that we created, and we're going to assign that to disk 1. So we're just going to press 1, and that's it. So now we can go old DSK2 catalog. It's a TI basic program that allows you to catalog the disk. It's kind of handy. I'm going to go ahead and run that, and I want to look at what's on disk number 1. So there's my test. That's the program that we just created. So let's load it up. Old DSK1, my test, and run it. Hello, welcome to Tech Talk. And there you have it. We wrote a program over on the web administrator. We saved it to the Raspberry Pi, and we went back to the TI and loaded it. Very cool. Okay, now that we have the Raspberry Pi all updated, let's go into Chatti. So we're going to go into TI Basic. We're going to type call TIPI, I'm going to use that alias I created earlier of URI1, and we'll type Chatti and press enter. Alright, since this is the first time we've logged in or we've connected up to Chatti, it's going to ask us for a few things. You'll do this one time. After that, you won't have to do it anymore. So we're going to say for the host, myTI99.com. The port is 9918. My screen name and password. I like that it put asterisks there so I can record that. That's always good. Alright, so now I'm logged in. Aha, and I see I have a message here. So I can press A to see what my message is. Or I can just go back by pressing S, and I can see everybody who's online at this point. Looks like Gregory's online and Omega's online. Very cool. Alright, so there you have it. That's how you get into Chatti the first time through the myTI99.com portal. Hey, let's play around in just a second on Chatti. Let's talk to these guys. So here we are. I'm chatting with Omega. We're talking about this game SNEK. It's a fun game. It really is. It reminds me of the light cycles in Tron. Anyway, he and I, obviously, if you're reading some of this, you'll see that I was playing the game SNEK at the same exact time Omega was. Ah, good. So he's saying his score is still there. Alright, so now we're going to go check and see exactly where Omega ranked in the game. So this is great. So I'm going to exit out. And we'll go back into SNEK. The fun thing is here, we're playing online. People from all over the world. Aha, there's Omega, 530. He's still on the scoreboard. So, as long as we don't get anywhere above Omega, he'll still remain on the scoreboard. So we're not going to play this game tonight anymore. We're going to leave Omega on there. That would not be cool. So let's go back into Chatti. We don't want to make Omega mad. Sorry, Omega. Alright, he sent us a message. So now we're going to go and press A. Okay, another really fun game on myTI99.com is called SNEK. I think I'm pronouncing that right. So we're going to type call TIPI, same alias, SNEK. Press enter. Okay, first we're going to go into C for config. And it's asking if we want to update the high scores. I'm going to press S, so yes, it will. And we'll hit back. And looky here, this is me. I'm Johnny Cool on there. I've currently got the high score. Looks like Gregory's coming in and he's trying to catch up here. Electric's at 540, Omega's at 530, and some of these other guys here. Oh, yeah, this is a lot of fun. Alright, so let me show you a little bit of the gameplay. So I'm going to press P to play SNEK. And first you'll hit the space bar and then you'll use the arrow keys to move the snake up and down. You can also use the joystick, I believe, but it's much easier just to use the keyboard. So here we go. This is my pattern that I use a lot. Now the closer you can get to the edges, the better your score is going to eventually be. But it's tricky. I'm going to play it one more time. I don't think I'll be beating my high score today. See how close that is? That's what you want to do. Not that. Alright, 270, that's not too bad, but anyway, you get the gist. It's a lot of fun. I highly recommend you give it a try. Okay, so now that we got my TI-99.com all set up, let's play a game of chess. So we'll use our alias and go to chess. Press enter. Alright, now we'll hit spacebar to continue, and we'll press 1 to list my matches. Aha! Looks like we have, our game is in progress and it's my turn, so I'm going to go ahead and press 1. Let's see, where we're going to move next. Alright, so now it says your move, from where to where. So we use the letter and the number to say we want to move a particular piece from one location to another. Alright, so let me think about this for a minute. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and make our move. I've decided I'm going to move the queen here, which will put him in check. So I'm going to press E1. And we're going to move to H4 and press enter. Now the opponent is in check. He will have to make his move. So we'll come check this out a little bit later. Okay, now we're going to try something really cool. The Raspberry Pi, of course, has 4 USB ports. So what we're going to do now is we've got this mouse right here, and we're going to connect this up to the Raspberry Pi. Now, why would we do that? TI can't handle a mouse, can it? Well, let's take a look here. Okay, so now you may recall a program in the mid-80s called TI Artist. It was rather popular at the time. So we're going to give it a try on the TIPI and see if we can load it up. So we're going to press 2 and go into Extended Basic again. We're going to load old DSK2 TIPI map. It's just an easier way of mapping that drive or that folder to a particular disk. So we're going to go to Disks, and we're going to go to Graphics, and we're going to map TI Artist to disk 1. So I'm just going to press 1, and it's mounted the disk. And now we're going to reboot, function quit, press 2 and 2 to go into Extended Basic, and let's see if it loads. So far so good. Okay, and we are now in TI Artist. I'm going to press enter and take the option 1 to go into TI Artist. And here we are. Now look at this. I am moving the mouse that's connected to the Raspberry Pi, and it's moving in TI Artist. I'll put a link to a chat or a thread over on Atari Age where you can do the same thing if you want to. Let's give this a try. Let's draw a circle. So I'm going to hit the space bar and it'll switch over here, and I can click and then create a circle. Let's get happy with circles. We'll make a lot of circles. They're always fun. Alright, now I'm going to hit space bar to go back. And let's say I want to do a frame. Basically just a box. Just make a few boxes. I'm going to hit the space bar, go back. I'm going to change the pattern. Shoot, let's change the color while we're at it. What color do we want? Red? Sure, we'll go with red. It would help if I changed it to fill though. Let's go ahead and click fill, spacebar, and now we're going to fill in that circle with a particular pattern. It's pretty cool. We'll change the pattern, and the color, we'll make it kind of bluish. Very, very cool. Alright, so let's do a little bit of drawing. You can do, this is it a K line? I can't remember. Something like that. I think it's a K line. Yeah. We can make like a 3D box here. Sort of. Kind of an ugly 3D box, but but yeah, this is pretty neat. You can do all kinds of stuff with it. If you hit function quit, it doesn't actually restart the machine. It goes into the menu here where you can pick other things, and E to exit, and then that'll reboot. So there you have it. There's a Raspberry Pi with a mouse connected to a TIPI that's then connected to your TI-99.4a. Okay, at this point you may be wondering, where do I get a hold of a TIPI? I'm going to show you now. If you go to arcadeshopper.com, right here, then go to the TI-99.4a, click there. And here you'll see Showcase. So in this case, we're going to go to Showcase. And it discusses a little bit here about the Raspberry Pi connection to the TI-99.4a. But if you scroll down a little bit further, here you can purchase a 32K memory Sidecar expansion, which is needed for the TIPI to work. If you already have one, great. If you don't, you'll need that. And then over here are the power supplies for the 32K Sidecar, so if you want to pick up one of those, it's a good idea. And then down here we have the Raspberry Pi TIPI interface. And I'm sorry, earlier I had mentioned it was a 40 pin, it's a 44 pin. Corrected. Alright, so you want to grab one of these. If you already have a micro SD card of a reasonable size, you can go ahead and use it. I think I've got a 64 gig in mine. If you want one of these cards, you can pick one up here for $20. In the future, there might be some DSR ROM upgrades. I think there's actually one upgrade right now. It's not a substantial upgrade, but if you want to, you can do that. Otherwise, if you know how to burn an EEPROM, erase and burn another EEPROM, you can do that. It's not necessary. Matter of fact, it works just fine out of the box, but just something to mention here. So that's one place where you can purchase the stuff you need to connect your TI-99.4a to a Raspberry Pi. Well, you remember that really cool 3D printed TIPI case that I showed you earlier that we assembled at the very beginning of this video? Well, I'm going to show you where to get that as well. First, you'll want to go to www.corei64.com, and when you go to the store here, you'll see one of the new products. is this 3D printed case for the TI-9994a TIPI at 32K. Basically, it encloses both the 32K memory expansion and the TIPI card itself. There's those two cables that connect up to your Raspberry Pi, so you can use any other case for your Raspberry Pi that you wish. But this is a great case to purchase if you wind up with the TIPI. So we'll click that, and here we see the price is $42.95. He's currently got 65 in stock. That's great. You shouldn't have any problem getting a hold of one of these. It's got some nice pictures here of it. I highly recommend it if you wind up getting a TIPI that you go ahead and get the case as well at the same time that you order the TIPI. It's great. You'll love it. And it's much better than having the bare boards just hanging off the side of your computer. So now you've seen how to connect a Raspberry Pi to the TIPI to the TI-9994a. Some pretty impressive stuff, and we've only scratched the surface of what can be done with this nearly 40-year-old computer and a Raspberry Pi. Please comment below with your thoughts of this technology, and if you own one, how are you using it? Please like or subscribe if you wish, and as always, thank you for watching, and hope to see you very soon.